The Joe Finnegan Show on Shannonside Northern Sound.
Now, here we are in the middle of the midterm break, a welcome break for parents and students alike. A welcome break that is from the school routine and, of course, the homework. And I include parents in that statement because, as we all know, nowadays, parents play a major role when it comes to getting the homework done every single night. And it's not unusual, let me tell you, in some households for parents to put aside at least an hour or two every evening, 4 or 5 evenings a week, to assist the children in doing their homework. And there are many parents now who will tell you that it puts untold pressure on the family and the household, because not only do they have to do the homework, but they have to get dinner and they have to do all the household chores, and it's pressure and it's hassle that they could do without, but they want to play their part in helping their children get through school, etc., etc., etc. Mary King, ladies and gentlemen, is living in Roscommon, and Mary is a granny, and she recently observed her grandchildren and their habits when it comes to doing their homework. And she was rather surprised and shocked by what she saw. And she felt compelled to put pen to paper as a result. And she decided to send her letter to the Irish Independent. In her letter, she writes, "I would like to raise the issue of the amount of homework children now get. My grandson, who is 9 and in 3rd class, gets up to 3 hours each night. He leaves for school at 9 a.m. and returns home at 3:20 p.m. He has dinner and then starts his homework and is finished at around 7 p.m. He spends more time doing schoolwork than his father does at the office, and I think this is far too much." Now, I mentioned Mary's letter on the programme the other day, and we were inundated with phone calls from parents who feel that teachers do a marvellous job, they really do, but they send a lot of work home with the children, which is putting pressure, as I said, not only on the children, but also on the family, and indeed on the household in general. And this is pressure, Joe, that we can well do without. And we also contacted a number of teachers. For example, we contacted a teacher in this area who was unavailable to take part in our program, but the teacher in question stated that she only gives her pupils 20 minutes of homework because during her training in England, she was advised that homework should not teach a child anything new, but should only review that which has been taught during the day at school. So, in other words, homework should consist of revision and nothing else. But if the phone calls that we received over the last 2 days are anything to go by, homework is an entirely different story for many, many pupils. Well, one of the country's leading experts in this area is Dr Naoise O'Reilly, and she joins us now on the line. Good morning to you.
Good morning. It's great to talk to you.
And thank you indeed for taking our call. First of all, tell me a little bit about the Homework Club.
The Homework Club was a school that I started 4 years ago. The idea was that I thought that everyone could do well in school, that they, with a minimal amount of hassle and pressure. I'm very severely dyslexic myself, so I had a very difficult time in school, but I did very well educationally. So I really felt that if people just worked in a slightly different way, that they could achieve great success, but hopefully with a lot less stress and all of the other difficulties that go with it. I always said that an hour in the Homework Club was worth 3 in your bedroom. And a year on in this debate actually on homework, I started a national debate on homework last year.
Yes.
And the implications of it on family life and the sort of pressure that parents were involved in, because there is this idea that it's supposed to promote independent learning, but the reality is that parents and grandparents and everybody is being sucked into helping their children every evening, and that it is causing a huge amount of stress in the household, and that quite often at the weekends people are still even trying to catch up on the work. That it is putting people under a massive amount of pressure, and it's taking away from a lot of other activities that the children need to be doing.
Right, but as you said, you started this national debate. Indeed, you were a guest on our show this time last year, and you made the point that we need to take a good look at the, not so much the teaching habits of our teachers, but the strategy used when it comes to homework.
Yep.
But again, if Mary King's letter into the Irish Independent is anything to go by, and if the phone calls we've received from parents over the last 2 days is anything to go by, teachers, either they're not listening or they don't agree with your views on this.
Well, last year when I started the debate, it was quite interesting because the parents didn't disagree, the grandparents didn't disagree, the teachers didn't disagree, the students certainly didn't disagree. Nobody seemed to disagree with me. But yet, I think it still hasn't changed. A year on, I'm now working...
Why not? Why not? Is it because there's pressure on the teachers to deliver and they want to use every resource available to them? Or is it just a bad habit?
I think it's a combination of both of those things. I think it is a bad habit. I think it's a habit and a routine that we've got into, that we think that we're pushing development forward quicker, and it's not possible to push development forward quicker. And then the other part of it is the expectations. So a year on, what I'm actually doing is I'm actually working directly with parents now in a project called Confidence Club. And what I do is I show parents that there's much quicker, easier and more effective ways to work with your children at home, and in a lot more fun ways. And it's this whole idea of trying to get the time down. I think sometimes that the work that's being set, people don't expect it to take as long as it's taking, and it is. And the reality is that the kids are not really, they're not enjoying it, which is a huge problem because they don't want to do it. So that's not a good basis to start on. They're not getting a lot of key skills out of it. They're still not able to write very well. They don't feel that they have a great imagination for writing stories, or they can get the ideas down on the page. They don't really have very good comprehension skills. There's a lot of very key skills that are falling down. And because of the way that people are just focusing on, writing 3 lines or reading this passage in the book or ticking all of these exercises off, because of the way they're doing it, the kids are not getting very much out of it, and you're spending a lot of time doing it. So whereas we always got amazing results within the homework club within just an hour, I'm trying to get the same results now within the home and much quicker, and especially for the students who fall into the brackets where this is very difficult for a whole array of learning difficulties, because that area, it puts even more pressure on the parents and on the families, and those people are getting lost constantly in school, and they're constantly playing catch up. So this homework is seen as a massive deal. And in terms of expectations, just go back to the expectations, because part of the problem here is that the parents don't want to send anything back into the school that isn't completely 100% correct. And then the teachers are basing an awful lot on it not being 100% correct. And there has to be mistakes. You can't get everything right all of the time, and certainly not from the beginning. So I think the expectations is the massive problem.
Right. But are educationalists like yourself expecting, or is there a huge expectation on your part for parents to play a greater role when it comes to doing homework? I mean, for example, I can remember when I was going to school with respect to my parents, and I think it was the same for my peers, they didn't play as great a role when it came to us doing our homework. I'm not saying they left you on your own, but what I'm trying to say is nowadays, homework has become an event almost in households whereby, as I said in my introduction, the next hour or 2 hours, mom and dad will have to make time to sit with their children. And that's almost expected, isn't it?
Yes, and it's completely wrong. And it is supposed to be this idea that we're supposed to go home and work independently. I don't feel that we should be doing as much work as we're doing. I think that's just wrong. And that there's far more effective ways that you should be spending your childhood, far more other activities you should be doing. There's a huge amount of social skills being lost out in the mix, a huge amount of sports and other activities that children really need to find that they're good at. So that's another whole part of it as well, because it's taking away from a lot of those, and especially with children who are older in exam years in secondary school, and people are tending to give up everything, which is just not right.
Okay, all right.
So I don't feel that the parents should be expected to teach it. I think my reason for working directly with the parents is so that they understand better what's going on. I think quite often they're standing outside the mix and they're just seeing these reports home, seeing this work that's expected, seeing their children struggling, seeing like children getting into huge tiz because they can't do this homework and they're not getting it all right. And I suppose my part in it is to help alleviate all of that stress and all of that frustration and show people what's going on and show them how easily it can be done slightly different and more fun. And I do think that I quite often recommend to people, to do things like to start baking at home. I think it's a much better time spent because you're learning how to cook. There's so many skills you can learn in terms of cooking, in terms of timing and weighing, measurement. I think education, our way we look at education in the home is all wrong. On the continent, we look at it very differently. We do see a role for parents in education, but it's a very different role. It's much broader, and I think that's much better, and that's what I'm trying to do with the homework.
All right, Deirdre O'Sullivan is with us from the National Parents Council. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Joe.
I'm just thinking of the parents, as a parent myself, in that at times parents can come under awful pressure, not only because of the inconvenience, but also simply because they themselves don't understand the questions. They don't understand how to solve the maths problem. They've forgotten their history. They've forgotten their Irish, i.e. the couple of focal. And they ultimately become upset because they can't assist the child in doing the homework, and that in turn will upset the child.
Okay, well, I think there's a different way of looking at this as well, Joe. As parents, it is not our homework to do. It is homework is there to reinforce what the child has learned at school. It shouldn't be something that's new for a child. It shouldn't be something that a child is seeing for the first time. The other side of it is that it is there for the child. It is an exercise for the child to do when the child comes home. It's a way of finding out if the child understands what's being done in the class. There is guidelines around homework, and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment has issued guidelines around that, about the length of time homework should take children in primary school. And I suppose because we're National Parents Council Primary, we concentrate on that. So if I just run that through that with you, and then I'll go through how parents can help in it. The recommended time, for junior and senior infants, there's no formal homework. It's drawing, it's filling in squares and things like that, reading paper shapes and pictures and stories. For first and second class, the recommended time for homework is 20 to 30 minutes. Third and fourth class, it's 30 to 40 minutes. And fifth and sixth class, it's 40 to 60 minutes. Now, they're the recommended times. And
that's not happening, though.
No, what I'd be saying to parents is that every school has a homework policy, first of all. You should know, as a parent, what that homework policy is in the school. And that policy should clearly outline what is expected of the child in the homework. What is homework? And what the school recommends that the child would do, and how it reinforces the learning. So,
yeah, but hang on a second, Deirdre. I'm sorry to intervene there, but I'm just going by. I have an email here in front of me, and I promised the parent in question I wouldn't read it out, so I'm not going to read it out because she wants to protect her identity for obvious reasons. But why is it the onus is on the parents to check out the recommendations and the homework policy of the school? Look, the recommendations are 60 minutes max for a 6th class student.
That's right.
So surely the onus is on the teachers. Why is it always left to the parents
to
pluck up the courage and knock on the door of whoever and say, hello, I'm such and such's mother. I think you're giving him or her too much homework. Parents aren't going to do that.
But can I just say, Joe, information is knowledge, and it's power for the parents. I mean, if these are the recommended times, and if it's taking your child 2 hours to do what should be done in 40 to 60 minutes, then it is the responsibility for the parent to go in and talk to the teacher and say, look,
that won't happen.
No, but I mean, it is, Joe. I mean, at some level, parents will have to say, this is causing a lot of stress for my child. It is not working out. So I need to take responsibility around this. So to
Right,
go
well,
in.
in theory, that sounds fine. In theory, that sounds fine. But come on, you know as well as I do, Deirdre. Mammy, please don't go in. I'll be picked on, blah, blah, blah.
Well, then, I mean, it's only going to continue at home. I really think that parents need to, first of all, know what the homework policy is in the school. It is important that they do know those things. Well, they should have been involved in drawing up the homework policy, and it should be general knowledge what the homework policy is. The second thing is, if my child is having a problem at homework, I would go in and I would say to the teacher, and a lot of teachers will engage in this and will encourage the parent to come back to see what is happening as well. You go in and you say to the teacher, it has taken 2 hours or whatever length of time. Now, I know that it shouldn't take that length of time. Can you explain to me what time you think that the child should do the homework in? And just see if it's in line with the policy in the school and if it's in line with the recommendations. And then with the teacher, say, and most teachers at that stage will say, well, after 60 minutes, stop the child and let's see how much they've done. Now, that's a really useful exercise to do. And then go back in and say, well, this is what they've done. And if there's no overriding problems with the child other than they can't get through the amount of homework, that needs to be dealt with then. And I mean, as a parent, it is our responsibility to ensure that the child is helped in whatever way, and that's parental involvement in your child's education. Now, I know it might sound very, perfect in a perfect world, but we have got that responsibility as a parent. And just to say, we have a very useful leaflet on homework on our website on www.npc.ie, and you can download it from our website. And
okay.
the other
I've got to leave it at that because very quickly, Deirdre.
Yeah, the other thing is that I think that we need to look, and I absolutely agree with Lisa, that the child needs to be doing lots of other activities, and homework shouldn't take over everything in their life. So therefore,
and it should be fun.
And it should be fun. And it should be an endorsement of their knowledge and everything that they're learning. And they should be able to come home, do the homework, and just put it away and go out and enjoy their sports. So as parents, if that's not happening, we've got to ensure, and we've got to make sure, and we've got to find a way to allow that to happen.
All right. Sorry for rushing you. It's just we're out of time. Right. And I really want to thank you for your contribution. Likewise, thanks to Dr Naoise O'Reilly. It's the Joe Finnegan Show, and we want to get your views on this topic. I know it will be of interest to many parents who are, as we speak, taking a breather from the homework, etc., because it's midterm break. And if you have a view on it all, we'd like to hear from you. 0818 22 77 77, and our text line today, 087 1200 900. Now,